Welcome to Galactic Grandmother, Heart to Heart. My name is April, and my special returning guest today is Jamae Sancier. Jamae is a wonderful psychic. She works with Laura Eisenhower doing readings. I definitely recommend that dynamic duo. Jamae is also an Akashic Records librarian. She's an energy worker. She aligns your energy. She is a timeline activator. And we decided after our last interview, which wasn't that long ago, and I'll post it below this, that we have so many topics that we really feel a need to go into on a deeper level. We are going to be recording these conversations on a regular basis. And a very important topic today are the interdimensional beings, Sasquatch. She's an awesome person. I just love her, and I'm so thankful you're back with me. I appreciate your
Yay.
time.
Thank you, April. Galactic Grandmother. It's such a pleasure being here with you. Yeah, I just love our conversations and it's just super powerful and needed.
Sasquatch was a natural first topic. It'd be okay if you tapped in and got a message from the Sasquatch today.
Yeah, absolutely. I just got goosebumps because that's what they were really excited that we were meeting today. And they were really excited to
Oh,
bring an important message. It's more to help people because it's everything is frequency, energy, and that's how I see things as timelines. And so, or where our consciousness is, and we got tricked and pulled down into a false belief system, negative like loop.
yeah.
And so they're vibrating at a frequency that we got pulled out of. They're holding space for us, but all the work we've doing, and this is the message, all the work we've been doing has released that because we've made enough consciousness in this ascension or whatever you want to call what we're doing here, transmuting and breaking down the false negative matrix. It feels like things are going back into balance in those other dimensional spaces because of the work that we're doing in this,
A
I guess,
moment.
three.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the huge message is what we're doing is so important on for all of the dimensional spaces so we can raise Mother Earth's frequency back up into more where they're at.
I think they're with us, aren't they?
Oh,
Okay.
they're, yes, you don't even know. Yes, they are. They're like, oh, I'm so happy to know
Oh,
they're such benevolent, loving beings. Some have been captured. So they did show me the dark in the other timelines that are dark.
have had some personal experiences that go back
Mhm.
a long ways. And would you like to just share your background with the Sasquatch?
Yeah. Yeah, it went way back and I had no idea what I encountered. And it was just once. They haven't shown themselves physically, but I can communicate with them and know that I'm communicating with them. When I was 16, I was out on a date with this, one of the football players, and he got this new sporty car. And this is like in Paso Robles, California. And
Uh-huh.
so we were in the back hills and showing off his sports car and then a deer and it was just starting to get dark. So it wasn't completely pitch black, but it was dusk, but getting more on the darker side. So and a deer ran across the road and he unfortunately kind of hit it. But and then it continued running. So I don't think he got it too bad. But he was like, I don't know, my car, my sports car. So we come to a stop in the middle of the road and it's on the back road, so there's no other cars coming. So he was about to get out of the car to see if his car got dented. And right when he opened the door, this furry, and it was now I know it was a baby or like a teenage Bigfoot. And it was running on all fours with to get, I guess, to be faster. And so it was like but it stopped in the middle of the road and kind of perked up, like kind of went up and then looked at us. And I was like, holy, what is that? Like never in my, not a raccoon, not any kind of your regular forest animals. And it was just midstream, looked at us and then continued running, I believe after the deer and tuning in with that timeline, it feels like they were actually playing. So it wasn't in a like a primal, like he was like after the deer or trying to catch the deer. Because from what they have told me, I don't know, it might be different for other people's interpretation or downloads, but what I have gotten is that they are vegetarian. They don't eat meat. They have their own really amazing berries and not grain, but it's a type of nut berry. But anyway, so they have these other foods in their dimensional space. And so that's why I feel like, oh, he's just playing with the deer. But so that was my only like scene in this dense reality, a teenage Bigfoot. Freaked the guy out. He didn't even look at his car. God, he was like, what the F was that? And I was like, I don't know. But I was like, super, that was cool. I didn't feel any fear, but he was scared out of his mind. We raced out of there. Never had a date with him again.
Now, were the headlights on yet? To
The
the
headlights were on.
so
So
you
that's
better.
why we got a good look at this teenage Bigfoot. So then I didn't even know or Bigfoot even existed when I'm 16. I'm just trying to be a
Uh-huh.
regular teenager, but knowing I was a little different. That was in Paso Robles, and then I finished out my high school in Santa Cruz, and I don't think I discovered even looking into Bigfoot until my mid 30s. I think I was living over on Kauai and then started just going, oh yeah, Bigfoot. I think I came across a book about Bigfoot and I was like, oh. And then I was already too meditating and connecting. And I think that's when I first really started communicating with the clans over here, where I'm from in Santa Cruz, from Kauai, because there's no Bigfoots on Kauai. When I really touch base with them and go
Mhm.
into their space consciously, and it's just like, oh, it's home. So I know that another me is actually a Bigfoot with family in
Uh-huh.
that other dimensional space. So I go there a lot. So I started going there probably mid 30s of plans here. But what they told me too is they only like trees. So they're the caretakers or guardians of the trees in the other dimensional space, but they also work symbiotically together. Like somehow it helps them with their frequency, specifically redwood trees, because yeah. So I was like, oh, cool. Because I feel super connected to the redwoods as well. And of course, I love all trees, but there's a certain consciousness energy on redwoods. So they do live in the other trees like forests, and it is global.
Interview, a Carrie Cassidy interview with Major Solomon Berg and his
Mm,
experience as a Marine in the military, as a scientist studying a Sasquatch that was captive in the Pacific Northwest. And he was talking about because he developed a telepathic communication with this Squatch, as it preferred to be called, and also through that Squatch, he developed a communication with the global, what they call the overmind. The Sasquatch are six-dimensional beings. And the
yeah, yeah.
overmind, which he's now tapped into, is 6D. And he said it's not a hive consciousness. He said they all
No.
retain their individuality, but he said it's a very comforting feeling of being part of the Sasquatch community. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so that's I'm like, oh my God, awesome, because that's what my clan had told me a while back. I was on one of my favorite hikes, and so I was like, okay, let's get some downloads. Tell me more about yourselves, and so what I do too in my favorite spot, I go into my third eye and I imagine that which feels real, that I'm around in their living space, really around a fire or the fire pit, and we're all it's like a round council. And so they have told me that they are able to communicate like trees because tree roots, that's why I feel like they're connected to the trees somehow, because a tree from here in California can connect with a tree over in Europe through the root system, through our ley lines. And so they had shown me that they're able to communicate with each other globally as well. And there's different clans. And so that makes sense. And I mean, they didn't specifically say we keep our individuality, but that's what I saw is that they all are different. There's all these different clans, even in this area, but everyone, they all get along. But they did show me if there was like a little upset, they work it out peacefully, and there's a council that they talk it out. Kind of like the Native Americans did, I think. There's no violence and they talk it out with the council. So I thought that was really cool. They're able to communicate with each other, I guess telepathically, like how we do, but it's just on this major, bigger level.
In my research, I was looking at an interview by Michael Jaco. I don't know if you know who
Oh,
he
yeah.
is. He's the intuitive
Yeah.
warrior. He
Yeah.
was interviewing a man named Steve Ishtal, who he's a hunter and a fisherman and a guide up in Canada in the
Oh,
mountains.
okay.
He said that the natives, the indigenous people up there where he lives,
Yeah.
they talk about the Sasquatch like they could be another deer. Like he said a long time ago when he was trying to find footprints of Sasquatch,
Hmm.
he was at an indigenous dump walking around looking for footprints because I guess they're known to like things that are thrown away. An indigenous man came over and said, "What are you doing?" And Steve said, "You're going to laugh at me, but I'm looking for Sasquatch footprints." And Steve said, he replied just like he was talking about a deer. He goes, "Oh, well, they're over by the river. There's three of them by the river." He said, "They're
I
actually interested in the salmon over there."
Oh, love that.
And
Yeah.
he was talking to him about, well, it was like a small family, the bigger one, the
Yeah.
female, and the smaller one. And Steve said that it
Oh,
wasn't the information so much as the nonchalant attitude of the indigenous man that was just so used to
yeah.
cohabiting with them.
Yeah. Because they're at a higher frequency. They're more in tune with nature, which I always say nature is the frequency of God's source, love, joy. That's why it's so important to get out in nature so you can connect and remember your original frequency of source and creator. And so, yeah, so that makes sense that the Sasquatch feel very comfortable being seen and being in this dimension with higher beings that are still in this physical body.
He said that the Sasquatch can know your intentions before you get out of
Hmm.
the car. That's why the majority of people don't see them, whereas others may see them or have telepathic communication. So
Yeah.
it's all frequency,
Yeah.
comes back to frequency.
It comes back to frequency. Theirs is like on steroids, their ability to really read energy. And that's what I'm able to do. And I know that's what you can do as well. Again, that comes back to your inner work because everyone has the ability to use their sixth and seventh sense of reading someone's intentions. That's why it's so important to trust that feeling, that inner work and clearing and getting yourself closer to your higher self that's connected to God, creator, source.
The DNA samples that have been found from hair follicles, Sasquatch hair follicles, they
Mhm.
always show a female human mother and an unknown father. It makes me wonder if way back related to the Sasquatch when they first came into this dimension or frequency, like so many
Mm.
other extraterrestrials mated with human women.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I'm not so sold on the whole DNA and our whole science.
Uh-huh.
So
Oh, good point.
I don't know. So I just have questioned everything my whole life. And that's why I solely have relied on just my intuition and connection. I mean, I'll listen to other stuff and sometimes it'll ring true, like, oh, yeah, okay. But I'm not sure about the DNA testing on hair follicles or even if that's accurate. If it is, I do feel that there was at one point an intermingling way back before the dark took over the realm. Let me just tune in with this because I haven't tuned in with it. So it actually feels like, yeah, not Lumiere, a little fat, maybe even after Atlantis. In a meditation a while ago, I did ask, well, who are you guys? And they responded, well, we are you. So that's why I've always felt like, oh, I'm a Sasquatch in that dimensional space. That feels about right, though, is the mating with other beings.
I am sure that wherever they're from, if they're from off planet here, or if they do have some human DNA that they're somehow connected to us, whatever it
Hmm.
is, I am grateful for their presence because I
Yeah.
feel like so many other interdimensional beings that they have a very important part
Hmm.
in overseeing our human evolution, is what I feel like.
Yeah. Well, and that's what they showed me too. So even though they're connected with our galactic family, but with Sasquatch, they're closer to our dimension. They told me that they actually don't go on the spaceships. So I thought that was interesting. But even though they communicate with the other dimensional beings, our galactic family, they're almost, it feels like distant cousins, like they're related. They are closer to our dimensional space. And that's why they can come in and out easily. And I feel like the other beings, our interdimensional family, are in maybe higher dimensional spaces, and it's harder for them to come into our dense dimensional space. Not sure if that's true or others have that information coming through, but definitely they feel, and when they said that we are you, our guardians, and we can actually get some good information from them to be able to navigate and figure things out more in this
Mhm.
dimensional space.
To
Yeah.
me, the Sasquatch, like you've been describing, being more, perhaps more anchored into the earth frequency, it goes along with the trees because the
Yeah.
trees definitely are here, very conscious beings. And if
Oh,
anyone's a watcher, they're a watcher and anchored into this frequency.
they showed me that they're like the caretakers of the trees. And so that means they do have to come in and out of our dimensional space. They're like the guardians of the trees, which help us continue our journey, our path, our mission. So it just all works together. And when you're tuning in with that, it just feels so good because that's part of the work. So when we carry that frequency of feeling at home, that's helping raise the frequency in this timeline or help others get to that place. Like Laura talks about the bifurcation. I think Dolores Cannon talked about the bifurcation as well of, and that's the old energy timeline just fading away because it's up to us to change the patterning, the frequency, the belief system, the time loops that were more on the negative. Because so that's why it's up to us. That's why it's important to do that inner work, clearing the traumas, clearing all of that, and understanding your true connection that you are love and God source frequency. And so we can all shift out of that. Now, I feel there's still going to be that timeline, but if enough of us can move away from that, then we won't even see what's happening. And that's how they've showed me too, is like, so I understand that everything is timelines and energy. And it's just not my mission or path to focus on the wars, the looking for the riots. And those are cyclical in that false matrix too. So that's on a different timeline. So where are we going to focus our attention? And
Right.
I am so grateful for the warriors that are on those front lines, transmuting in that timeline. Hats off to them. But I know my job is to understand that we can witness it, but it's not part of our reality. And if we can continue to understand that and focus on ourselves and what you want in your own personal reality, which is joy, fun, and being neutral and just being in your heart space and doing what you love doing, because that's what we really are supposed to be doing in a human experience. That's what my guides have said too. It's not supposed to be like this. It got way out of balance. We actually did enjoy coming to planet Earth and experiencing this beautiful construct or, matrix that we're in and work with the energies here. And so just it got hijacked.
Right. Right.
Yeah. And now we are bringing it back into balance. We really are.
I've heard people talk about this, and I've talked to another person on an interview that tapped into it. And back in the golden era of Egypt with the
Hmm.
pyramids and so forth, that was what was called an open galactic society. And we were all here, our
Yeah.
extraterrestrials, probably the Sasquatch, humans, we were all living together. And that was before the timelines were messed with. So I think
Yeah.
that's what we're heading back to.
Yeah. I really feel like we are. It's amazing to see so many awake people talking about chemtrails, talking about Sasquatch, talking about energy healing, farming, gardening, everything, going back to what we really need for these human bodies. And it's energy. So when we eat healthy, we're putting good energy into our body. And so they tried everything under the book to poison us and break our energy field down through foods, lies, through the mainstream, through chemtrails, through just poisoning our food, everything. But our consciousness is stronger than all that. So that's what they've told me is that we are the med bed. We are the med beds through our consciousness. And if we clear all of that out, that's what will move us out of the destruction that we've been seeing. Yeah. So I was meditating, getting information with who they are. And they wanted me to give a message in this interview. They want us to know everyone that is on this journey in this realm, knowing that there's something wrong here and that we are balancing it back out, and they have so much love for us and support, and that I would call them guardians of the dimensional spaces, and then just holding that space for us to transmute the out of balance darkness. They want us to know that we are doing it and they can feel it. I know that they're all benevolent. I don't see any mean, dark Sasquatches. Since we are doing the work in this realm, and this is what he's saying, it is releasing the other timelines to the higher, and it's happening actually. So as we're doing it in here, even though we're not seeing it on a huge scale, they are seeing it in the other dimensional spaces, and our galactic family or mine do concur with that. So they're all just really so loving us through this really freaking hard, crazy time we're having to go through. And then, yeah, so they're just so in gratitude and that we are making a difference because it has shifted in the other dimensional spaces. Everyone has their own truth on their own timeline. So I don't consider anybody wrong with what information is coming through for them, and or right, wrong or right. I'll resonate a lot of times with, I'm like, oh yeah, I resonate with what's coming through for them, or maybe what comes through for someone else. I'm like, I don't know about that, but it's just not meant for me. It's meant for someone else. So we all have our part. Not enough consciousness was there to make that shift of like I say squashing it out or vanquishing that darkness.
Squashing.
Watching. Yes. Squatching it out. Totally kidding. And like I said before, they have a great sense of humor. They're totally laughing. I love it. Oh, that's so cute. I did have a story that I forgot to say,
Oh, good.
with
Go ahead.
Sasquatch. Just on I had the physical experience with seeing the teenage Sasquatch when I was on a hike, probably last year. I mean, I connect with them every time I go out, but one of them, I was like, okay, you guys just let me know you're here. I know I'm communicating with you. And I think they know me. Same with my galactic family. If they actually showed themselves, I'd probably freak out. So I'd freak ah! Wait, no, so they know that we can just communicate with each other telepathically. But I was like, just let me know, give me a sign. And I was way up in the woods. There's no houses, there's no other people. I mean, I was like way up on this mountain that I like to go up onto. And right when I asked, like maybe a couple seconds after, I was like, okay, give me a sign. And I smelled the most amazing, like it was nothing I'd ever smelled before. It was like this porridge smell. So, and because it was in the evening when I was walking or hiking, and so it was not dark yet, but it was probably around 4:30 or 5. So probably around maybe their eating time. I don't know, but I was proved to me I'm talking to you guys. So yeah, so they a few seconds later smelled this, and I knew it was them sharing the aroma of what they were cooking. It was like kind of like a porridge, I want to say, but it was nothing like I'd smelled before. And so I too, I was like, okay, well, what is this? That's why I said in the beginning with their food that they have in that dimensional space, maybe they're cooking in our space, but I'm not quite clear on how that works. But it was like these nutberry kind of similar to buckwheat, but different. I don't know. So it was like, but it was really just lovely. I was like, oh, thank you. So that was kind of in the physical of showing me, and then it just went away. I haven't smelled that ever before in that hiking area. Only when I asked them to prove to me I was talking to them.
Your
So,
very intimate connection to the Sasquatch, to that dimensional frequency. Is there anything that you feel that we should know about or think about at this time?
just I'm always saying get out in nature more. And so Sasquatch agrees because that is going to help to remember your own original frequency of where they're at in that just that heart space, the benevolent, the not all the traumas, the our negative thinking about ourselves. So when we get out in nature and we honor the trees and we honor even the rocks and the breeze, everything really does have consciousness on it. And so when we can tune in with that and have it uplift us, that makes them happy.
Oh, thank
It
you so
does. Yeah.
much. I
Oh,
so appreciate your time and your wisdom and your input from tuning in to the Sasquatch. It really means a lot to me, and I hope that our viewers can feel
yeah.
that frequency that you're transmitting.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, because if you can and get used to feeling that, because that's what we want to be in that frequency to uplift us out of the negative timeline that we've been
Yeah.
on.
And for our audience, if you have any particular topics that you'd like to know more about, please write it in the comments and we will take a look at that.
Thank you. It was great being here. And yes, please, everyone watching this, comment, ask any questions, and just know like you're part of this huge shift that we're all going through. And so good job.
We
Because if
love
you're watching,
you and we appreciate you.
yeah, you're on the path and on your mission. So
Yes,
just know you're not alone. We're here supporting each other.
right. Thank you so much, Jemay, and we will talk soon. Bye
Okay.
bye.